Hi guys. Okay, so today, this week actually, we are going to start learning about telling time. And some of you have already probably practiced this a little bit and you know a little bit about telling time and some clocks, so that is great. And if you haven't learned this yet, this is going to be your week to start learning about how a clock works and how to tell time. So we're going to practice that together. And it takes a little bit of thinking and it takes a little bit of math. So we're going to work on all that stuff together. But the first thing we're going to do today is really just talk about the parts of a clock and how it looks and what it does, right? We know a clock tells us what time it is. So I have this cool clock here. It doesn't have any numbers on it yet. These things move around. So let's talk about the parts of the clock first. So we've got our whole clock here now. What you call this big round part of the clock right here in the middle, it's called the clock's face. Isn't that funny? So this clock has a face. I might actually give him a little face here. Let me put him some eyes. I'm gonna give him a little nose. There, now he really has a face. So my clock has his face. Now what's funny is these things up here. What do you notice about these two little arrow things? I noticed that one is a little bit shorter than the other one. So there's a long one, long arrow, and there's a short arrow. And these little arrows or little handles here, these are called the hands of the clock. So already this clock has a face and hands. It's got a lot of kind of human qualities to it, doesn't it? So he's got one long hand and he's got one short hand. And that's going to be really important for us to remember later as we start learning how to tell time. Okay, so we know the clock has a face and it has two hands, a short hand and a long hand. Now what we got to do is we got to add the numbers to this clock. So every clock that you see, and you probably have one in your house right now that you could find, or you might have a watch, or your mom or dad might have a watch, it's going to have the same numbers on it. And they always go around in the same pattern. So at the very, very top of your clock, if both of my hands were pointing at the very top of my clock, that is where the number 12 is going to go. So I'm going to write my number 12 in there. It's important to remember that the 12 goes at the very top. Now after the 12, if I'm going around like this, it's funny on a clock. 12 is the biggest number there is on the clock. It doesn't go any higher than 12. So after 12, guess what? I got to start over again with 1. 12 is the biggest number we're going to have, and we're going to go all the way around the clock to get to 12, but we've got to start at the beginning. We have to start with 1. So right next to my 12 is where I'm going to put my 1 and start from the beginning. So I'm going to add my 1. And now we can just go all the way around the circle and add our numbers. So what number would come next after 1? 2. Then 3. Then 4. Then 5, 6, 7, see how I'm going around, 8, I don't want to mess my face up, 9, 10, okay, I only have one left. It's the number between 10 and 12, so it's got to be 11. 11. So now I filled in my whole clock, so check it out. Got my 12 at the very, very top, and that's the biggest number there's going to be at the clock. So I know after that I got to start back at 1 again. So if we started from the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then it starts over again, doesn't it? Back with 1. So those are the parts that we need to be able to tell time. We need the hands of the clock, the big one and the small one, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. But we really, really need is all these numbers around the clock, because that's how we're going to know what time it is. With the way that those arrows point, right, the hands of the clock, wherever they're pointing, That's how we're going to know what time it is. But we first have to make sure we have all these numbers in there. Now, why do you think there's only 12 numbers on the clock? Think about that for a second. Did you know that there's only 12 hours in the day and 12 hours in a night? So because there's only 12 hours in the day, we have broken up our days and nights into 12 hours. We have 12 hours on a clock. And that's how we are going to be able to tell time. So what you guys are going to do, you're going to have a sheet like this. You're going to have your own clock to design. Now look at this clock. This clock doesn't have a face on it yet, and it doesn't have its arms, its hands on it yet, and it doesn't have its numbers on it yet. So it's going to be your job to fill in the numbers of this clock. Now guess what you can also do? You also get to design what the face of your clock is going to look like. So you could put a picture under there. You could give it a face like I did with eyes, nose, and a mouth. You can even put the hands anywhere you want, as long as there's one short hand and one long hand. But really, I want to make sure you guys get all your numbers right. So if you're looking at your clock, at the very, very top of your clock, the very, very top of the circle, do you remember which number is going to go at the very top? The 12, that's right. So once you get your 12 in there, you know that's the top, and you're ready to start over again at 1. So you're going to write your numbers all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. I want you to design and create your own clock and make sure your numbers are in it right. 1 through 12, because there's only 12 hours in the day, so we only need 12 numbers on a clock. Okay, so that's what I want you to do first. Have fun. Can't wait to see them. Bye.